it. So one of the challenges of backbending in yoga is how to be able to keep the lower spine and the hips and the rest of the lower region of the spine light and supported as we suspend the weight of our body back. Because as we curl back, as it detains, the lower back will contract, the hips will tighten. So how do we go through the process, without us squeezing the butt, without us squeezing the legs? Because as you squeeze your thighs, as you squeeze your butt, the rest of your lower body will follow. They will also tighten. So the secret is how do we use the bandhas or the energy locks, and how to position them, especially on the entry, and how do we breathe through the process. Right? So I will be demonstrating and talk you through the process using two techniques. One is basic one, the Ustrasana or the camel, and we're going to advance it to a more advanced backbend, the Kapotasana. Alright, so the locks that I'm talking about is actually the bottom lock, which is the Mula Bandha, down the base of the hips, and then the Uddiyana Bandha, the second lock, between the two big ribs and the front of the pelvis. Alright, so this is important, the entry. They should somehow inside feel like they're aligned. Alright, if you're very flexible around the hips, your hips might be leaning a little bit forward, or if you're quite open in the low back, your hips might be a little bit towards the back. It's not important. What's important is how they feel inside. So it looks like they are aligned in one line. Right? So you can draw that breath up and then lift the weight of our lower back off our lower spine, because the weight and the heaviness of the back bend rest here. So you have to draw all those heaviness up first for you to be able to suspend the weight of your the rest of your spine towards the back plane. So let's do that. All right. So you may do a little adjustment, and as you do this, lifting the excess weight by breathing them up, like you're just lifting towards the diagonal. All right. So if you're gonna pay attention, I'm not pushing my pelvis forward. Rather, I want to keep it neutral with the rest of my spine. Alright, and then here I'm engaging my Uddiyana Bandha lightly, and then the bottom lock, which is not very visible because you gotta draw it from it. It's like a gentle suction coming from the base of the spine, and that has to be done with the pulling up breath. So breathing in, see, the space opens and they remain aligned. Alright, breathing in and let your upper back suspend. Right, like you are catching the top of the inhalation and let the upper back hang and suspend up. So the role of the two bottom bandhas is to keep the space open while the upper back suspends towards the back plane. Without you pushing the pelvis forward, because if you push and up the pelvis forward, the lower back will naturally contract. It looks like you're extending, but inside they're actually contracting. Right? So let's continue. Right, breathing up. Alright, suspend. Alright, so keeping those two locks aligned, at the top of the inhalation, we have to open the throat a little bit. Alright, without dumping the pelvis forward, suspend the arms up. And as you do that, you want to loosen, but keep drawing up. See? They remain aligned. Yep, you might do it one arm. Yep, see? Inhale, the other arm. And both sides. Yeah. So this is a really good way to learn the technique in the Ustrasana, because in the Ustrasana, the back bend is not too deep, and then you have many support, the fingertips maybe, or you can even use the block to keep your lock somehow aligned as you curl back, especially if you're lacking the flexibility of the shoulders first. Now breathe up. Yeah. So as you breathe up, those two locks remain engaged, and then the hips will naturally move forward as the spine suspends back. It's a natural behavior of the spine, but inside they feel like they're still aligned. The breath stops from the Mula Bandha and you draw that up, and then the Uddiyana Bandha or the middle lock will enhance that extension of the middle spine, and then you breathe the neck up. Alright, so that's how you can apply that in the Ustrasana. Now for progression, for example, you're very efficient with such that we are doing a deeper one and we're not reaching for our heels anymore. Yeah. So the entry is exactly the same, right? Now breathe up. Alright. Feel your bottom lock. Draw the heaviness out of the lower spine. And then the middle lock. pull the space even higher and longer. Right. So you may even suspend the weight of your torso slightly forward. That will create more space here. And then the spine behind you. Right? Now breathe up. Alright, and here, the arm bones should hang and suspend upwards. Don't pull them back, otherwise the spine will go heavy. Inhaling, alright, you might just rest the arms, but the arm bone somehow counter the lift or the dropping of the spine behind. As the spine extends back, the arm bones will rise up, and then they come in towards the midline. Yeah, keeping the locks engaged. Yeah, breathing up, 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 up. As you breathe the spine up, the space go longer, and the rest of your upper spine will initially rise up first to open the shoulders and to free the neck. Yeah. And there, the arm bones will somehow counter the weight of the back as it spins towards the back plane. So the arm bones go in external, but the elbows will point towards the midline as they rise out of the upper spine. Yeah. Yeah. Breathe up. Yeah. Loosen a bit there in the shoulders, but keep the arm bones moving gently up so the upper back will not feel heavy. Don't pull them down. Alright, and there you will be able to see your toes behind you. Don't drop. You may lighten up a bit. Even the exhalation is slightly rising up. The exhalation, the Uddiyana Bandha or the core lock has this tendency to contract on the exhalation. What you want to do now is, as you exhale, lift and lengthen the space even more by suspending the upper back higher. Right? Good. Breathe up the neck. The arm bones turn externally, but the elbows will go to the midline. Right? Adjust a bit in the shoulders and loosen. Right? So keep the breath rising upwards as your upper back softens behind. There. Right? Now when you're ready to grip hold of the heels, maybe loosen a bit in the arms and breathe the neck up. Yes. And there, gently, and fingers to heels. Alright, exhale a bit here, and just a light inhale. Alright, so the inhalation is coming from here. Yeah, you're going to draw this up, up, and the mid-lock lengthens more. Let's inhale, and then the neck opens. Yep. Alright. So you should feel light and open in the lumbar spine using the locks. Alright, before you descend the hip, yep, breathe in the notch. Alright, and then catching the lightness of the breath, elbows down, and exhale. Loosen just a bit. Alright. And then the bandhas here, or the locks, would help to relax just a bit, just to allow the spine to surrender. Alright? When you're ready to rise, a light breath up. Suspend the lightness of the breath and rise the upper spine. Alright? And gently, hands to floor. Loosen a bit. A light press, but not too much, to keep the shoulders open and the joints light. Inhale. Alright. Now you're going to have to engage the bandhas again on the rise. Back up to upright. So inhale, draw up from here. And then the spine. Keep the neck open. Alright. Hugging the arms in. Alright. And then continue rising the breath up. Keep pulling this space up, up, up. The arm bones need to suspend high, so your upper back will not feel heavy. Inhale that spine. Alright, hands to your heart space. As you exhale, just slide your hips back a bit, but the spine to spin upwards. So you're going to form that stack position again. Alright, and then from there, I would recommend, instead of the child's pose, flow into a downward dog. The downward dog is